Hi, everybody. Welcome to this new session and happy ICT Day for everyone. And I welcome you for this 90 minutes webinar now. This session will be recorded and posted on the ICT YouTube channel and social media. If anyone have any concerns, please put it in the chat box, okay? I'm the IZD Europe and Middle East representative, and I'm also the vice chair of the IAZA Conservation Education Committee and head of education of Lisbon Zoo, Portugal. I'm going to start sharing my screen because I'm going to do a small introduction to this team, okay? So this webinar will be about the opportunity to build public awareness of biodiversity laws provided by COVID-19 and focused and how to maximize it and how focused on how conservation education teams reinvented themselves during the pandemic. Okay, so zoos and aquariums are unique learning environments and play a crucial role in advancing conservation through education and scientific research. Our ability to inspire people to act in favor of biodiversity of the next several decades depends on how we create the future learning. And in the world where everything is changing so quickly, zoos and aquariums must share practices that works best, what does not work, and what we can do differently to change the learning landscape in order to stay focused on our commitment to conservation education. That's why we are here today. Let's check first some commitments which frame our key outcomes of quality conservation education stated in the newest World Zoo and Aquarium Conservation Education Strategy launched in the ICT conference last month. To build a culture of quality conservation education at the heart of all zoos and aquariums. To create clear, authentic, and relevant purposes for education, for conservation education in zoos and aquarium. That is, by having a clear purpose for conservation education, zoos can contribute by achieving global biodiversity goals as the SDGs, for example. To understand the range of audiences and expand the reach of conservation education of zoos and aquariums. That is, by maximizing the opportunities to learn, zoos and aquariums can inspire and engage a wide range of audiences through quality conservation education. And these opportunities can take place at the zoo, through outreach and community engagement or online. To facilitate, motivate, mobilize zoo and aquarium audiences to act and advocate for biodiversity, environmental and conservation related issues, and to advance and innovate evidence-based approaches in conservation educations in zoos and aquariums that raise awareness, connect people to nature, and motivate pro-environmental behavior. That is, efforts to promote conservation must focus on changing behavior. Our conservation education programs can provide the inspiration and the support needed to start taking some of these actions. Zoos and aquariums have an incredible power to engage the public with their ability to create emotions, attracting new audiences, and through them, amplifying species and habitats conservation awareness. And our ability to inspire people to act in favor of biodiversity and meet climate challenges of the next several decades depends on how we create the future learning. But suddenly, a pandemic reaches our world. The world stopped. Zoos and aquariums closed, conservation work suspended. And positive to be a super year for biodiversity with various international meetings, 2020 will be remembered for the COVID-19 pandemic. Our world has been working through unprecedented times. The current global pandemic has created a multitude of setbacks in so many facets of life. For the conservation education community, one of the big difficulties was the loss of on-site programs. When long-standing ways of doing things are destabilized, new ideas, institutions, and ways of relating can be established. These types of situations remind us that the future may be uncertain and that major changes are possible in the short term. One of our unique challenges as zoos and aquarium conservation educators has been to keep our audiences engaged and keep our organizations relevant. And to maximize the opportunity of this moment, we need to be creative about new ways to achieve similar impacts and to revolutionize the way we listen, think, and act. Following the containment of the COVID-19 pandemic, zoos and aquariums closed its doors to the public during some months. However, conservation educators reinvented themselves to continue taking their missions to all audiences, family, students, and teachers. And at first, everything seems lost, but we took this opportunity. Although separated and each closed in their homes, the conservation educators teams all around the world start working to improve their skills and work better than ever. The big change of scenery was working from home and suddenly had to create new educational strategies and new online innovative learning scenarios with the goal of taking the zoo and aquariums conservation of species and their habitats to all audiences, while dealing with the pressure of the whole situation related to the COVID-19 pandemic instability, and above all, with the family management pressure also. The combination between technology and tradition on-site conservation education programs revealed to be an important strategy to engage audiences. Conservation education teams had to get comfortable with distant learning very quickly. Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Classroom, Skype, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram have been indispensable tools throughout these times. But most teams felt disconnected to find out what others were doing, how to use technology, how to stay connected with audiences. IZE Conservation Education Facebook page was a powerful tool to find new ways of working and getting our message across virtually. Here we shared experiences, ideas, and activities that worked best. It was very encouraging to share and see and hear all about the great work being done during these times. And the ICT has been running webinars and will continue to help educators all around the world to share experiences in a post-COVID world and stories of hope for education. Participants all over the world are attending and eager to connect with others and find out new ways to engage audiences. So let's see now some examples and how conservation education teams reinvented themselves during the pandemic. We have 4 guest speakers and that will speak about their own experiences. But first, some housekeeping. will not have a question and answers moment. So if you like to make specific questions, there will be a speaker's colleagues helping with all the answer in the chat box. So please put all the questions in the chat box. And in the end of all presentations, we have 4 discussions break rooms led by the speakers, where all participants will be randomly distributed across rooms to discuss the objectives, the challenges, and the key lessons. So now I'm going to turn it over the first speaker, that will be Aileen Tennant from Dublin Zoo. Are you there?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Aileen.
Can you all hear me okay?
And I'm turning it to you, Aileen.
Okay, no problem. I'll pop into share screen. Okay, so hi, everybody. I'm Aileen Tennant, Head of Discovery and Learning in Dublin Zoo. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of what we've delivered throughout the global pandemic. So first of all, we're going to look at an overview, I suppose a timeline for us of what happened in Dublin. I'm going to introduce you to the team. We're also going to look at the virtual activities that we delivered since March 2020. I'm going to focus on those. We did do some face-to-face delivery, but I just don't have time for all of that today. We're also going to look at the successes, so what worked and why, and where we're going to go next in Dublin. So the first thing, here's the team. Niamh Potter is on the call. So Niamh is going to take any questions that might come up throughout the presentation. Hopefully she'll be able to answer them for you. Niamh started with us as Discovery and Learning Manager in February. So she had a month to know what normal zoo life was like before we kicked off into this global pandemic. Kelly Mara is someone some of you might be familiar with. She's our team lead here in the Discovery and Learning team. Kelly, you'll be very familiar with by the end of the presentation, because she was really the face of our department and of the zoo in lots of cases throughout the pandemic. Christine O'Connor is our senior administrator. She's an absolute powerhouse of organization, and the show wouldn't have been kept on the road in the virtual learning environment without Christine working in the background with bookings and technology and so on. And then finally, we have John Muldowney, who's our Discovery and Learning teacher. So this is the team, me and the 4 guys here at the moment. We obviously would have had a wider team prior to COVID-19 hitting the world. I'll talk about that briefly next. So on the 12th of March 2020, we closed down, and it was announced, I think we had 2 days before we closed, we would have had a team of 8 staff, and that was cut down to 4. So we were down to about 38% of our usual hours within the department. On the 2nd of June, then we put in place very strict, I suppose, COVID-19 health and safety protocols. And we were in a position where we could reopen. And we were very, very thrilled about it. And we understand that many people around in the zoo community couldn't. So we reopened, we had one-way systems, lots of protocols in place. And then on the 22nd of October, we went down into our second closure. So we have been open from the 2nd of June until the 22nd of October. So between all of these dates, from March to June, we had to think on our feet, like most of you, and move into the virtual environment. And we had to kind of identify, I suppose, what resources we had, what our own skill sets were, what people were looking for, what our audiences were looking for. You know, schools were closed, for example. So we started to investigate ways that we could support wider communities. Then from June to October, so over the summer months, we didn't entertain the idea of doing any face-to-face engagement because the way the zoo was laid out, the uncertainty with COVID, etc. We couldn't really invest in time in doing that. And none of us felt safe to be out meeting the public at that particular time. Schools then in Ireland reopened in September. So from September to October until the recent closure, we would have been doing our secondary school programs, and we delivered 2 of our outdoor programs only. So we also had John at this stage. I've introduced you to John Muldowney. So John had been temporarily laid off, and then he was seconded to the animal care team, and then we had to fight to get him back into education, and he joined us in September. So we had 2 educators doing face-to-face delivery. We're a little bit uncertain at how that would go. whether there was an appetite for schools, whether they were ready. And in actual fact, schools were just so delighted to have a venue that was safe with curriculum linked to education programs to come to. So we were very, very busy with our face-to-face bookings through those months. And then we closed again, but we had been planning ahead and planning for virtual activity to make sure that, you know, again, once we kind of knew a closure, the second wave was coming, that we would be ready to deliver. And then we were able to reach the audiences we wanted to deliver to. So from October up to this week, we have been delivering more virtual activities. So these virtual activities, the first thing that we would have come up with is Nature Connect videos. So these were, I suppose, 6 DIY videos. When I say DIY, it was literally recorded on a phone, edited with a member of our marketing team. And the whole idea is that we wanted to engage all the families that were stuck in lockdown. We wanted to engage with them and basically get them involved in appreciating local biodiversity from their window, from their back garden, from their balcony, whatever that they had to hand. And the content of these 6 videos was based on our WASA and IZE funded program, Families Connecting with Nature. So we tailored some of the activities we did in that program and we adapted them to the online setting. Because again, we would have been planning to do more family workshops this year. So this was one way that we could engage with those kind of audiences, and obviously to a much wider reach. So the audience, as I say, was families in lockdown. The conservation action I mentioned was to support and raise awareness of local biodiversity. I have a hyperlink to most of these resources underneath each slide, so you can follow up and look in more detail at them there. So the reach of this was about 10,708 YouTube views, which we were thrilled with, because sometimes we find education content gets very little pickup. And obviously we had a bit of a, I shouldn't say captive audience because people were in lockdown, but we were really thrilled with the reach that we had there. The next thing that we did was a really interesting concept, and it was RTE is the national broadcaster in Ireland, and they came up with a program called the Homeschool Hub. So they were responding, I suppose, to the needs of the public in Ireland, and essentially what it was an hour-long show hosted by 3 trained primary school teachers, delivering lessons for age-appropriate groups for 1 hour per day, Monday to Friday. So the whole idea was to support parents who were trying to work from home and educate their kids. So this TV show, I guess, came about to do that. So we were asked would we deliver some content from the zoo, and we were very keen to do so. And it was an amazing opportunity to showcase what educators in zoos do. So the program provided primary school children with fun daily lessons while home from school. We delivered Hub Zoo. So Kelly came along and delivered 5 lessons with a conservation theme. So we designed 5 lessons, as I say, with accompanying worksheets that children could do at home. So this was obviously an informal kind of program. It was meant to be with an element of fun to it, but the nice part was that we were able to design the conservation education outcomes of it within the content. So the worksheets that went along with it were available on both our website and on the RTE website to download for kids to do at home. And we encourage them to send them in to us and to share with others. So what I'm going to do, I'm hoping that the video will play quite well. I'm going to give you a little snapshot of it in a second. Sorry, we'll move on to it in a second. The viewership of this is 19,000 views, which was about 20% of the total viewership of the program. So we got a huge amount of response from this program. We were getting emails in, we were getting the worksheets back to us, we were just getting a huge level of engagement. But the amazing thing about it was that it just completely raised the profile of discovery and learning in Dublin Zoo, where people maybe didn't even know we had an education department, and a really incredibly active one. It just really put us forward as the face of the zoo throughout the pandemic. So here is a little snippet.
welcome to Dublin Zoo. My name is Kelly and I'm a teacher in the Discovery and Learning team. We know this is a really hard time for everybody, and you're doing the right thing by staying at home and keeping everyone safe. As you may notice, our visitors are at home, and that means our animals are finding it maybe a little bit strange to not have their human friends around. So we're going to bring the zoo to you this week. We're going to learn about lots of different things and meet lots of the animals and see how they're keeping and how they're keeping active, what they're getting up to. To visit our beautiful Bornean orangutans just behind us. So you can see one of them is using a bit of our food as a...
Sorry. Go again.
A shade or umbrella from the beautiful sun that we have out today. This is Rena. And if you spot other animals that look a little bit similar with their long arms and legs, you might find our gibbons here. They have a black coloured body instead, but they like to join our orangutans too. So, our orangutans and our gibbons, they are apes just like us, just like gorillas or chimpanzees. And that means they're really, really smart. They're very intelligent. And it's really important to keep them very, very active mentally. Just like it's important for us to do our schoolwork and activities at home and learn lots of new things too. So we are going to give them what is called enrichment today.
Okay, so I'm not going to stay too much longer on that. Each session of the Homeschool Hub is between 6 and 7 minutes. As I say, that each of them had a conservation theme, which Kelly would have delivered throughout those 5 sessions. I'm going to come back to that later because there was another program we were involved with up to very recently, which was very similar. So one of the other activities that we would have worked on was with our sustainability partner. They wanted to also continue to deliver. They would have worked in the zoo delivering different weekend activities and different programs here to support our mission as a conservation organization. And they wanted to deliver some of the content, but from home. So they had lots of expertise, they had lots of finance, which we didn't have, to engage with families at home. I'm not going to go into it in huge depth. Again, there's a link there to find out a little bit more about it. But it was a 10-week program to engage families from home. The Discovery and Learning team here, 2 of us designed the content. So we were looking at themes of biodiversity. What is it? How do we protect it? About energy. Where do our energy sources come from? How do we save energy? Looking at pollution, and then looking at ways to live more sustainably. So that had, again, a really big reach, really big audience. But again, it was just another way that we were able to communicate our conservation education mission to a very different audience in an incredibly different way than we're used to. The next thing that we did, which I'll give a bit more time to, is we had a huge number of school bookings coming in for May and June. We sell out every year for primary school programs. So we want to convert 2 of our primary school programs into virtual programs. So there were existing programs. We were low on resources. Again, we recorded them both on phones. We used existing teacher resources. We used existing student worksheets, and we just tailored the whole program to try and put this package out in a very low cost way and a very quick way as well, because again, we were so tight, we were all on very reduced hours, and we were just trying to work towards the May deadline. So we used a phone, it was edited again, we worked with the marketing team on this to edit down the video using free software. It was sent to all schools who had booked in with us. And then what we wanted them to do, it was posted on social media, and we wanted the schools basically to contact education at Dublin Zoo. And the thinking behind that was to formulate a database of teachers who would be interested in further virtual learning activities. And that worked incredibly well. So we had 10,600 children participate from 204 schools from 3 different countries, which we're really, really pretty pleased with. And then we evaluated this program to feed into our future planning. We also did virtual Halloween workshops. So these are the first times we really engaged with workshops that were an hour long, which had feedback over and back. So we hadn't come to this until Halloween this year. So we ran 3 hour-long engaging workshops per day for 3 days over the school holidays, the Halloween holidays. We had just gone back into big restrictions in Ireland, so we had a huge audience again who wanted to do something virtually from home. We brought in about 20 to 25 families per session. When I say families, it could have been 1 or 2 children on the call, just with a guardian in the background, just supervising. And we had John and Kelly doing an incredible job, as you can see, dressing up for Halloween and doing 3 different themes with a moderator per session. So either Christine or Niamh would have been moderating at the chat and supporting both the educator and the children participating in the workshop. We learned a huge amount about this, and it was a really, really great learning experience for us. And it was one of our first really proper informal programs that we would have delivered. RTE After School Hub I mentioned earlier. So the schools are back here now, but the after school clubs are not back because schools are open, but everybody else, you're only allowed to, if you're an essential worker, to go to work. So RTE came along again, the national broadcaster, and wanted to support children at home. They came to us, and this time we managed to get John feature as well as Kelly. And again, we would have provided 5 lessons. They had a conservation theme again, and they had worksheets accompanying each lesson. We don't know the viewership, but we still get loads of kids following up and sending us emails saying that they saw us on TV and completing worksheets and so on. So again, the reach was really great, and it reached again new audiences. So again, the Discovery Learning team, people are becoming very familiar with our educators, they're becoming very familiar with the standard of education that we're delivering. And again, you can find out where you get more of that content in the link below. This week, we are in the middle of Science Week. We have a few different programs running. So we worked with developing what's normally our face-to-face outreach program. We again tailored that into a virtual setting. It's a 40-minute workshop, and we've run 26 workshops this week, which is about approximately, we don't have the exact figure, but approximately 850 children have been engaged with these workshops. How we did this was working with libraries in different counties throughout Ireland who had a budget to support their local schools. So they would have booked the programs and they would have sought the schools for us, which was a really, really great initiative. One of the other things we have going on, obviously because it's Science Week, we also have Science Week festivals taking place. So we've learned this week was the first time we used Crowdcast. So we had 42 schools join into one call that Kelly delivered, which is about 800 children, we think, participating in a learning action, virtual learning opportunity for that. We have a few more bookings coming up for that later this month. And then one audience we hadn't specifically, I suppose, targeted was any children with additional needs or on the autism spectrum. And we have 5 workshops coming up this Friday, and it's going to be a very real trial for us. We want to make it as sensory as possible and support the different needs within those groups and see how the virtual offering works. So that'll be to be continued, see how that one goes. Other activities, successes, I should say, to date are global reach. So within Ireland, normally it's the Dublin schools or schools that can travel on a short-ish bus journey to us. We have every single county in Ireland participate in some kind of virtual learning activity. We've had lots of schools from the United Kingdom participate. We even had a family from the United States. We had families from Delhi. We had families from United Arab Emirates as well. So it's completely breaking down geographic barriers that we would normally face. And it's really getting the mission not only of our zoo but also zoos globally, because obviously we're all doing this together. Developing relationships. So one of the key things for us is we worked with a marketing team. We've got 2 very new members joined the zoo, and it was very fortunate for us because they had the skill set to do editing from home. They had some of the technology and programs that we required, and they were crucial in helping us to do the interpretation and things like that for our worksheets, and also promoting our work on social channels. So suddenly the zoo was basically putting out a lot of content from our team and putting out our work, which was fantastic, again, to raise our profile. They uploaded all the online content. They were also delivering other online activities using information from ourselves. So we have a whole hub within our website for that. And also they were sharing all of the incredible positive feedback and social media posts, which really, really boosted everything we were doing and gave us that reassurance that what we were doing was working. Our sustainability partner, we would have been able to deliver some of the things that we wanted to do without their support in terms of finance, in terms of expertise, and they were fully supportive of us being the creators and giving the direction to the conservation education mission. So we had a huge amount of control, which was really, really important from my standpoint, to be involved with them working on anything. And it also allowed them to understand a huge amount more about what Dublin Zoo is about. It's not just a place for families to come visit, it is a place about conservation education. This is the hub that we used on our website. So activity workbooks, virtual tours, for example, on the webcams was controlled by our marketing team, and all of the other activities were things that we had worked on. So other benefits, developing relationships with schools. So schools were turning to us for resources to help them through their crazy journey, I suppose, as well, through all of this. They became really familiar with our educators and our level of engagement. So one of the things that we're really, really proud of is how engaging our educators are within the virtual environment. It's not an easy task, and they have absolutely nailed it here. And we're getting that back in feedback from our teachers, from families. And it's just such a compliment, I suppose, that we're delighted to receive. We've built trust with schools and parents because, again, they were seeing it in the national broadcaster, they were seeing it on our YouTube channels, they were seeing it on our website, that the quality of teaching and learning that's coming from our department, that we're all trained in what we do. There's a high level of expertise here. So it was very good for relationship building. Families, it wasn't just our annual pass holders or families living in Dublin. So all around the country, families were more familiar with what we do, and they could participate. They weren't blocked again by the usual geographic barriers. And then I suppose that Dublin Zoo is seen as a really high place of high quality education. Again, there is our very loyal schools and families and annual pass holders that know that, but again, we're getting that to a bigger audience. So other benefits is upskilling. We've learned so much, new ways to work online because of our remote working at times, new software programs we never would have engaged with, new ways to engage learners in a virtual environment. We're trying to put together a handbook on that and best practice at the moment, because to document all of our learnings. And then getting comfortable with teaching to camera. Even this format now for me is strange. I might have come from a teaching background, and it takes a while to get used to. Our learners are pros at it, our educators are pros at it at the moment. And then developing an even greater sense of team. So there's a very strong team spirit here. However, adapting and changing to the new scenario together built us kind of stronger bonds between us. Our trust in each other, because we have people working in different locations, but we're on the same output. Whether it's the moderator supporting the educator, there's a stronger sense of trust amongst us. Confidence in delivering conservation and education in new ways. So we were nervous. We didn't know whether it was going to work, and it has worked incredibly well. So we've grown in confidence. We feel in a much better position with everything. And then a greater recognition from the wider team. So often other team members within the zoo don't really know what we do, and they were seeing it and just were so impressed by what we were delivering. Like, wow, they felt that learners were lucky to have the educators that we have here presenting in front of them. Coming next, so one of the key things is we did our free virtual primary school packages, which was basically to support the schools that had booked with us but couldn't come to us. And then
sorry, Aileen, sorry, 2 minutes.
Thank you.
I was so exciting hearing you that I forgot to but okay.
That's okay, and I'm conscious I am racing a bit because it's a bit long. So yeah, we learned from what we did with the free primary school tour packages, and again, working with our sustainability partner, I said, look, I need finance behind this, and we designed 2 primary programs. So they will come with a teacher's pre-teach pack. It'll come with pre-teach PowerPoints to do in the school. It will come with a really professional video content lesson. So we work with the people who run our TV show on that. So it's really high level editing and production. We will have a follow-up 30-minute Q&A session with one of our educators for children to ask very specific questions after the program. And we have evaluation sheets and also worksheets to follow with that. We're hoping to have those ready by the end of the year. It's taken a huge amount of work to get it together, but we're really thrilled that we have something so robust and high quality ready to go for next year. And the second thing that we're engaging with, we haven't really engaged with higher education or adult audiences, and we're just tailoring some of our programs at the moment to get ready for that. And that is it. So if you have any questions, I know the chat box was flashing there. I didn't get to see any questions. Hopefully Niamh was able to support you. If you have any other questions for us, I want to ask something specific, contact myself or Niamh. We're delighted to help. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aileen. We were excited to hear all your fantastic work. And I'm sure that everybody learned from you lots of things and lots of strategies, very innovative learning scenarios. And well done.
Thank you.
Dublin Zoo team, well done.
Thank you so much.
Let's move on. So the questions are being answered in the chat box. All the webinar, some people are asking about the access to presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and goes to our social media. So you can see it, watch it later. Okay. So let's move on. We have to move on. Sorry. And now we are going to Italy, to Katia Dell'Aira. She's from Parco Natura Viva in Verona. Verona, the city of Romeo and Juliet. So Katia, are you there?
Hi.
So over to you, Katia.
Okay, I'll try to share my screen. Okay. Oops. Okay. Can you hear me? Italy was the first Western country to be eaten by COVID back in February. As a consequence, Italians, like other people across the globe, underwent almost 2-3 months of lockdown. All enterprises were closed, including our zoo. Schools were closed too, and all students from nursery to secondary schools had to remain at home throughout the lockdown. We learned from the media how this pandemic emerged from a disturbing relationship among human activities, natural environments, and wildlife. This gave humanity a taste of how great a danger can result from an upheaval of ecosystems. Through countless videos, we all witnessed cities and villages deserted of people and wildlife reclaiming these now free species. We even learned from scientific research how pollution in the entire area decreased. In a sense, we have acquired a new awareness of how fragile the conditions that allow humans to thrive in Earth are, and how easily our activity can alter them. The Italian school system struggled to adapt to distance learning, and many students had issues, both logistical and practical, in utilizing this form of attendance. Issues span from not owning a PC or having only one PC for all family, to lack reliable connections, and to intrinsic difficulties in adapting a new condition, a new situation. Parco Natura Viva private company found itself with not income and with uncurtailed personnel to save costs. Nevertheless, our visitors and supporters showed their affection with an incredible outpouring of donations. The longer citizens were stuck in their homes, the stronger their longing for the outdoors. People craved the wild. The lockdown troubled kids and teenagers who were deprived of social contact, and even more affected were disabled ones. In order to keep in touch with our visitors, we developed a webpage dedicated to kids, where the public could find drawings, games, and other outlets filled with interesting info of our animals. We produce also some video about our animals that we share with our social media. Some of these in particular focus on the pet therapy animal farm animals, and allow us to share with the kids and teens that usually visit this farm how their favorite animals were doing. As soon as our zoo reopened in May, our visitors come back in even greater number than the normal 2099. Of course, this restricted number of visitors, this rediscovered contact with the public made us realize even further how deep their affection toward us was. Throughout summer, we delivered the following activities. Summer camp for young, aged 6-17, where the demand from the family in our area was higher than usual, mainly due to Parco Natura Viva being able to guarantee a safe haven for kids through strict protocols and its large outdoor spaces. In fact, many other summer camps never started because of COVID. We received a generous donation from a foundation which helped us in building marquees to host more groups of children in our zoo summer camp. What about teenagers? We are involved in producing environmental enrichment, in collecting behavioral data of our species, and in developing and creating videos to celebrate Lion and Tiger Day, which we shared on our social media. We also created a new kind of birthday party for small family group in light of the new restrictions. A special guided tour where kids could then prepare environmental enrichment for some species. Due to the social distancing, all tours were delivered through earphones. Here you can see some kids exciting at encountering our young amur tiger. A further activity we developed was a treasure hunt for family organized with Arca Foundation, the zoo's own charity. This activity did not have rules or obligations. Families were free to conduct the hunt throughout the park by themselves. This providing an opportunity to safe activity for family in order to avoid contact with other persons. And we obtained some donation for our animals too. The education department staff was also busy controlling COVID regulation within the zoo, particularly in managing entrance in the House of Giants, our greenhouse, which inevitably lead to queue. We took advantage of this to deliver talks to people queuing, provide information on the zoo, its conservation activities, and any relevant news, while also responding to any question visitors may have. The end of the lockdown allowed us to retrieve our pet therapy activity. Again, the new protocols forced us to reorganize our work flow, as the majority of the kids who are engaged in the pet therapy may not be able to wear masks, thus requesting a higher attention for the therapists and other employees who work in the farm. Furthermore, even if 2020 tried the best to stop ongoing projects, we managed nonetheless to publish a children's book we started developing in 2019. The book focuses on the topic of gigantism as part of our effort to make a new greenhouse in our zoo, the House of Giants. This was an opportunity to reach and engage people outside the zoo too. The book was presented in various festivals, which gave us the opportunity to engage kids while also reading session online. Or you can see here some pictures, some drawings made by kids with these activities. And now, what's the future? What about the future? What next? Right now, many schools request us to deliver face-to-face lecture, both in the gardens or in the classroom. We are developing online lecture, virtual guided tours, courses for teachers, a digital advent calendar filled with activities and games as part of our fundraising strategy. Further, our fundraising activity by locating grants and possible funders. We all hope the health crisis will soon end. However, we will manage to remember how important a life in balance with our environment is. We will remind ourselves how vital and a healthy relationship with nature is for us and for the future generations. Zoos must be at the forefront in delivering relevant messages to engage people behind our visitors to embrace a more sustainable way of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katia, for your excellent work in Parco Natura Viva during these difficult times, in special in your region, in north of Italy. That was really, really crazy. So well done for you, all team of Parco Natura Viva. So now we are going from Verona to Moscow. Elena. Elena Migunova is from Moscow Zoo, and she's here to talk about zoo for everyone and reaching all different audiences. Elena, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I unmuted. And can you see my my screen? Here we go. Okay. So my presentation is also about how we've been trying not only to lose our visitors during the COVID time, but to involve them in some actions for conservation. Here is our audiences. And during this spring and fall now, autumn now, we would like not only to try to keep them, not to lose them, but also to recompose this structure, changing people's attitude. And I'll try to show you how we do that. Let me show you some examples of our work this year. We attracted families and children, trying to remind of old Russian tradition of loud speaking, loud reading books in families. And this book, this program is made by our zoo theater actors, and they are reading the books. It's a series of 35 books so far. It calls Animal Books. Each book is written about some species of animals, and Moscow Zoo is a co-publisher and provided scientific editing of texts. Next step after that is a workshop where one can make a sloth bookmark or shark postcard or anything else dedicated to those book characters. Since our school programs it was not possible to do them offline, face-to-face, so we transform our school visit programs to online classes. One of the most important and bright events of spring 2020 was a zoo marathon when we proposed to our site visitors for 10 weeks from March 22 to May 31. We provided them 3 or 4 new questions every day about more than 200 different animal species, and 41 team, which is more than 100 participants, aged 6 to 73, took part in this program, and they were more than 3, you can see the number, 300,000 views and hits. What's next? Preparing to the second wave of COVID, we decided to do something new, and we worked together with our team of PR managers, and we decided to use video clips from the spy cams in enclosures. And I will show you different ways we use those little videos. First, this is for people who are looking for just fun. Can you find a raccoon in a raccoon enclosure? Please, let's start. Here we go. You can see it, and here is you. This dance in TikTok format also looks funny. But we used that, and for those who read comments, we told about mating habits in birds. And here you can see the title of this post. Since we are lucky to have both giant and red panda in our collection, we used, we used this clip to talk about panda systematics and tell our virtual visitors that only representative of panda family Ailurida is red panda, and giant panda is actually a bear. Another example, no music this time, more serious stuff, and one of our keepers talks about our family group of lynx. He is explaining the enclosure arrangements, group structure, behavior of animals, and behavior enrichment. So it's quite different level of information. Not all the animals are easy to spot in the enclosure, even during a zoo visit. So it is especially precious that we can demonstrate those species and more, them being active, looking for food like this wolverine. And we can also commenting it, telling about behavior enrichment in the zoo.
Sorry, Elena, 5 minutes?
Oh,
yeah.
So in October, we decided to celebrate Halloween, and we encourage people to bring pumpkins. And we showed different examples of how they use it. Herbivores, cats, and African hornbills, which are very interested in this jack-o'-lantern. Then for those who are interested in more information, we prepared cycle Animals Against Bullying, popularizing unpleasant and unattractive animals. Then we had some cycle of public lyceum about Moscow Zoo in situ projects about Amur tiger and Sakhalin sturgeon, Russian desman, and other animals. And now we're moving to more serious things. This is a window of Center of Rehabilitation of Bats, where people can bring the bat if they find it, if it is hungry, if it cannot hibernate, okay. This is a house for bat, and you can see that the information about that is published on the official site of Moscow mayor. Some other activities in Safer Bat project, and also we show people how to take care of the bat if you find it, and the result is that more than 100 bats were brought for rehabilitation, and it is no less than the year without COVID. So we probably hit our, I don't know if you see the number, 190 online programs and more than 2.5 million views by November 1. So that's what we were done so far. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Elena, for your great work in Moscow. I'm sure that it will not be easy for you in these times. So let's move on now from Moscow to Poland, to Wroclaw. Wroclaw Zoo, Marta?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Elena, for your presentation and your great work in Moscow Zoo. Marta, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to open the presentation, but first of all, I would like to tell you guys that it's pandemic is bad, but also good because we are connecting to each other much more often. We use the electronic devices with the whole world much easier, I think. I'm not sure if I'm seen well because of the light, so it's a bit
No, it's
like...
okay. It's okay,
Yeah,
Marta.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
it's okay. Perfect.
Okay, so let's move to the presentation. Just one thing, it's that I came back from maternity leave in October, so I'm gonna represent what was done and what I managed to do for since last month. Okay, so just few things that were done since March. We were closed for 1.5 months. Now we are staying open. Obviously, we stopped having pupils in the zoo, so we went on online. But from March, there were a few projects. So the first one was the zoo at home. It was live streaming on Facebook and then later on published on YouTube. There were really short videos of educators. And the team managed to produce 40 episodes and it hit to be seen by almost 3 million of people, which is a great success, I think. And then there was it's basically those the same pictures, but the name of it was different because it was a project Ask the Zoo Expert, and more breeding department was involved because people were sending some questions via email to the keepers. And later on, the keepers were answering the questions online, there was a live streaming on Facebook, but they got the questions before from the public, and it hit almost 5 million viewers via Facebook. Then after opening, we had limited kids attending the classes because of still closed schools. So the team created 3 offers that we haven't done before because we had loads of schools attending the classes and we didn't have much time for other offers. And so we called that Wild Adventures, and there were 3 types of it. I mean, the first project was Let Us Guide You. It was 1 hour tour with the educator, and you could choose from 3 different topics: savanna animals, forest animals, and those animals living in the water. And it was meant to be done basically for families or people just entering the zoo, and we were promoting it at the gate. And you could just pick that tour before coming to the zoo or when you were in a zoo. So new thing for us. Then there was a Melex tour for basically for 3-4 people, right, that could get into the Melex, but it was an hour tour. When people didn't want to walk much, they could just take a Melex tour, and that was also very very nice experience. And then it was behind the scenes. We started to selling it, but then we had to stop, so we don't have the figures. How would it be? How popular would it be? Because now we just can't take people behind the scene, or we can't just meet people in person. Let me show you a short movie. It was very unique because usually we don't take people behind the scene. We do it very rarely, just with a special guest, let's say. But now we decided to sell it, basically, to have more money from educational activities. We also upgraded, because we used to do it before, the self-practice routes that people can just get the kind of task sheets and then go on their own in the zoo and just fill it in. It is also very good thing to be done by families. And then since just before I'm back at the zoo, I managed to how can I say, to tell my team that it will be really good to have online sessions for schools, because I was predicting that schools will be closed soon, and we started to working on the special programs only 3 weeks ago. We have a few topics to deliver, and we have a live educator. Thanks to Chester Zoo for sharing some ideas with us, and so we also put some videos in those sessions, because we don't have. Sometimes we are afraid to be online in the real time, because it's not always easy to deliver. It is not also always possible to see the animals. Sometimes we have to wait and we don't have much time, so that's why we decided to put few videos. Maybe it's for a lesson, it's like maybe maximum of three videos, and they are approximately 2 minutes long. So I'm sorry, it's only in Polish, but I will unmute it, but if you can just see how it works, how it looks like.
Sorry, 5 minutes, Marta. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just finishing. So there's an educator talking about wolves. How do they feed? How do they look like? What can be done, and all the stories that can be told to kids with subtitles, because sometimes it's much better. So it's only this. I'm sorry, it's only in Polish. And today, because it's the easy day, our marketing team made a really great thing for us on Facebook page. It's just for your information that they made our own special etiquettes for describing us with our pictures. It was a really nice thing. So I would like to wish you all the best, and the best. We have the best job ever. Thank you very much for your attention. Basically, that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Marta. And you said it all. We have the best job ever. Yes,
yeah.
Yes, it is. And we reinvent ourselves, even in a pandemic. Thank you so much. Exactly. So now I invite all the participants to enter in break rooms. But maybe first we can have a photo group. Perfect. Let's see. Okay, everybody. Okay, big smile. Okay. So let me see more, because we are so many. So do you have your cameras on? All cameras on? Yeah, that's it. Okay, perfect. So I will invite you to go to break rooms. Okay, everybody, welcome again. Did you enjoy the break rooms?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Okay.
It was effective.
So we are running a bit late, but we'll manage to do it. So who, room number 1, who was in room number 1?
I think that it was ours, right?
Okay, Marta.
Okay, so Niam will present it as we.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Will I do all three? You want me to take all 3 topics?
Yeah, I think yes, Niam.
Okay, very good. Okay, so our objectives were connecting people and families with nature. We were saying that we had a focus on kind of building community, because the geographical barriers that kind of would have been there in the past could be broken down via the virtual format. All the usual conservation aims were the same, raising awareness about endangered species and about pro-conservation behaviour. All those still stood, just in a different platform. We were talking about one of the objectives, how it worked out was that it forced us to learn new skills and open our minds to other possibilities. So that was our objectives. I'm sure will be a common ones: technology, software platforms, the cost of those, and sort of learning how to use them. Wi-Fi connection, both in our organizations and the people that we are, like the schools or the homes, that not everyone has good Wi-Fi connection. The obvious one is losing the face-to-face, the interaction and what comes with that. And, for an educator, although there are overlapping skills, it is a whole other world. And, people have had to be very flexible and learn on the job, I suppose. So that's a challenge, an opportunity, but a challenge. The working from home element, like the whole world, working from home and sort of what you missed out on kind of in that space. But also there's, again, opportunities to maximize there as well. And then we had people say if they were using sessions that would normally involve some of the animals, when it was a period where they weren't involved, kind of retraining them and all that kind of stuff. And just different skills required and kind of the speed at which we had to adapt. Lessons learned then, I suppose the lesson learned is how much we could diversify, how flexible. We were kind of saying, maybe for years we had said, oh, we must make that virtual, we must this, we need to do this. And then all of a sudden we just had to do it, something that might have taken 2 years, before, now just happened over a period of months. So we were forced to be more flexible and more creative. We also talked about the fact that the young people and everyone that we're dealing with, but the young people in particular, they're already there in terms of their knowledge about the technology. Before our sessions, we were like, will they be able to mute? Will they be able to unmute? No problem. They all already knew better than us how to do everything. So we have to get there because they're already there. And then we talked about the network, things like this, how, we were talking about before, if there was conferences in different countries, you wouldn't get to go, or, maybe one person would get to go. And now there's such opportunities for us to network and to be a real united kind of team with the same message, that that's just been a great opportunity that, again, may not have happened. But it's just a chance to be a bit more kind of united in our aims. So that was our group.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Niam. Room number 2. Room number 2, who was in room number 2, who will be speaking for room number 2?
I think we were in room number 2, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I took note of what room number we were, but I can...
Yeah, I think you were at number 2, yes, Kat. Could you recap, please?
I'll do it for her.
I'm pretty sure it's the same number 1, but whatever.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Kat.
So ours was looking at kind of the objectives that we had, the greatest challenges, and the kind of the lessons learned. And it is very similar. Like our objectives as conservation organizations didn't change. We still had the same message of wanting to engage people with the natural world. And it was just our way of doing it had to change. We still wanted to galvanize people into action to protect the natural world and to protect local biodiversity and global biodiversity. So I think as organizations, our kind of objectives didn't change and what we wanted to get out of our education programs, but what did change was in the way in which we had to do that. One of the things that we kind of were discussing about is the skills that we either had to learn ourselves, or how we were in our organizations asked to do different things. So either be it, so from in our team, we had a lot of people redeployed into different areas of the organization. So similar to what Aileen was talking in Dublin Zoo, kind of people were working with different people because of the format we were having to deliver, but also because of the need. You know, I had team members that became zookeepers overnight, who were back on the press team, who were delivering digital that had never delivered digital before. So I think that was the thing we were talking about, was that upskilling again, of kind of creating a community within the zoo and raising the kind of learning profile of people. But the main thing that we all thought was our lessons learned was upskilling in IT. I don't know, but I think we all very much focused on that one-to-one, opportunities to engage with people. And as educators, we used props, we used skins, we used our skills of non-contact communication kind of had gone out. The enthusiasm kind of you had to learn it through a digital format. And I think that was kind of our lesson learned, was trying to upskill us, in which is good. You know, we're now able to say yes to a Zoom meeting and be able to present on Zoom. Beforehand, no one had ever even heard of Zoom, or being able to break down those geographical barriers, where it was a lesson learned and an opportunity that we can take forward, that when we go back to being able to properly engage with groups face to face, which I think everyone's really excited about, we can't lose sight of what we've learned over the last year, of the opportunities that COVID has actually given the zoo community, both us to be a community as zoo educators, but also to be able to engage with people that would not have engaged with zoos before, or us raising the profile within our zoos of what we do, and also to families that may not have seen zoos as a destination, but through virtual have seen us as who we are and what we do. That's kind of from us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kat. And that's it. Yeah. So room number 4, who would like to speak?
I will take that.
Okay, Aileen.
We're the third Irish voice in the call. Very rare. Okay, so we're looking at our objectives. So yeah, obviously, as Kat had said, we were still need to get our conservation education mission out there. But and we had to learn all the new ways to try and engage with our audiences, but also to engage with a new audience, because we weren't necessarily used to working with the audience that are the kids at home while the parents are trying to work. So how do we engage the kids without parents having to dip in too much, for example? And then trying to support the new ways of learning for those children in that environment, in their new environment. So everything was just so new all the time. And to reiterate what both previous speakers said, trying to learn ourselves and do things that we had always had ambitions to do, but maybe not the resources, and been forced into a situation where we had to just learn and go. The greatest challenges, I think, for most people is obviously resources, because most of our teams are cut, and even, zoo closures, education teams are completely lost. But finances were huge challenges, and I think we've been incredibly creative to come up with ways of workarounds for that, and been tenacious in how we do it. And skill sets across the team, I kind of mentioned that we were very fortunate that we had the right combination of skill sets between education and marketing, and that allowed us to kind of progress with all of the activity that we did. Another one, sorry, was trying to support the team then with training, because you kind of intuitively learned as you went. And I know certainly in my role, we had, as Kat had said, we had a lot of people who were seconded onto other teams. So John, for example, was with the animal care team, and he missed out on lots of the learnings myself and even Kelly had picked up from like video editing, etc. And like we're sitting in a position, oh, John is back, but how do we train him with all the stuff that we've just learned? We don't have a training package for this, you know? So we found training a big challenge. We had supporting teams both personally, you know, through COVID-19, you know, that's kind of a role that I would have and Niamh would have in department of, you know, we need to check in on people, and it's very difficult sometimes to do that on a phone call or virtually rather than in person. And how do we support them personally when everybody's gone through such kind of upheaval? And also, as I say, professionally, how, again, the training element, how do we get training for different new skills that we're learning? I would have said as well, loss of team morale. Luckily, I think we pulled together as opposed to, but at different times, people would have gone through the COVID crisis dealt with it in a different way and felt because of reduced hours and things, I'm sure, you know, morale was a big issue amongst many teams out there. Again, challenges in like, how do you teach to a camera versus how do you teach when, you know, you can get the physical verbal cues from your learners in front of you. So that was a big challenge to learn, but again, dealt with very well. One that I added in just outside the group just now was being over ambitious in what we do, great ideas. And then you realize actually that takes 3 months to pull together, not the 3 weeks you might have thought. So that was an example of some of the programs we've coming. Okay. Lessons learned, I'm going to move on quickly. That doing the best that we can with the resources we have. And sometimes things won't always be perfect, but the messaging is right. We're looking for workarounds. One thing I'd say that we have such an amazing capacity as educators to adapt. We're so creative, we're so innovative, and the content that's come out this year from zoos globally has been phenomenal. And then lessons learned is, giving ourselves time to reflect and review. We probably have a bit more capacity for that sometimes in the virtual environment than if we were doing our day-to-day lesson after lesson, that we actually are learning probably more through our reflective practice. And then also we're looking at things with very fresh eyes in how our messaging is getting out there. And I think I will wrap it up on that.
Okay, Aileen, thank you so much. We are 10 minutes behind, but okay, and we have another session just after this. But I just would like to end this. This is terrible moments that we are going through, but after overcome this pandemic, when making a retrospective on the work developed, I personally, and I think we should also remember the strength and determination to win any pandemic. And we are the example. We, zoo and aquariums educators, are an example of this. So thank you so much for being here with us, celebrating the IZE Day. Thank you so much. And now I invite you to the next session with Rebecca and Kim, and knowing more about the backstages of our big success. It was our IZE conference last month. Let's see how the backstages of the IZE conference will look like. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you
now,
very much.
Turn it to Becca and Kim. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.